Hello.
This is going to be what like every episode is like now. Just like weird.
Because we're giddy and excited that we're in person. Hi, everyone.
This is Two Girls, One Ghost.
Two girls, one ghost. Two massholes, one ghost.
Oh my God.
That's Corinne.
Hello.
And I'm Sabrina. And today, I am mother.
And I am father. Cheers. I picked it up awkwardly, so now I can't like really do much here, but we're excited to be together.
We are.
I have some special accommodations, which is Brian's gamer chair, because that chair is now difficult for me to get out. I kind of have to roll.
Tuck and roll.
So I didn't want that on camera. But
you know what? This seems comfortable.
It keeps me right upright. It's great.
Yeah. And you are a big gamer, so.
I game hard. Actually, wait.
What?
There is a game that Brian got me into.
What?
And I
What
like
game?
it. It's called Unravel. Did I tell you about this already?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, we played on his PS5. Actually, we finished all the levels. We're done. But it's a game that you can play with a friend or like in a couple. It's like meant to be for two people to play together.
Okay.
And you're little yarn dolls and you're tied together and you have to go through a series. You basically like.
Is it like an obstacle course?
Essentially, yeah.
Can we make the real
beautiful.
life version of this?
Should we do that for a Halloween costume? Should we be these yarn dolls from Unravel?
No one gets
it. It's like cat dog.
Yeah.
But it is really fun.
Okay.
And I think that it's a great game to play if you're about to like maybe move in with someone and you're trying to move some furniture together and solve some puzzle pieces.
It's the first step before you move in to find out if you're compatible.
I think it's more of just like practicing stressful situations and not screaming at each other.
Okay. And if you can't do Unraveled, then maybe you don't move in with each other.
Or maybe you just know your limits of what you can do. But I have heard that there's another game that Brian and I want to play. It's called Uncooked. And that's the one where everyone screams at each other, where you're a chef. You're in a kitchen. And there are people who
waiting for their
fed.
food. I just want to be the one eating food.
I wonder if that would actually be really fun if one player could just be the customer, like
and the
really
other
demanding,
person, like, no.
and the other person has to serve them. That's the worst. We should make that one. That one actually sounds great.
I have ghost stories.
Oh, already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I live in a haunted town. You want them?
I do.
I'll slip them over there.
Thanks. Nom, nom, nom.
Nom, nom, nom. You're still thinking about Uncooked.
I'm always thinking about food. I'm hot.
Jesus. And I'm cold, which is so we got in here and I was like, I'm freezing. And so Corinne put a heater facing me, but now you're probably getting a little bit of it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Take your clothes off.
I'm just going to air out the pits like this.
All right, I'll give you chills with ghost stories.
Perfect.
Actually, they're not that scary. Well, we'll see. Dramatic pause.
Awkwardly take sips of our liquids.
So I told you about Maddie's. Well, you told me about Maddie's, to be fair. But Maddie's.
We can pretend all of Marblehead
is now mine.
Yours.
Mine.
There, you know the town really well.
I'm learning a lot. Well, I will be teaching you this. So we were at Maddie's the other night, and Gina, the bartender, now knows us and is like, "Hey," but she was asking me about what I did, and so I told her about her podcast. I went extra into the. Sorry, Jamie.
You went towards the mic.
Oh my God. You can leave that in. So I was telling her about the podcast and she was like, oh my gosh, do you believe in ghosts? And I was like, yeah. And I grew up with them and like, and
hard not to believe in ghosts.
Yeah, if you have a
ghost
podcast.
Yeah.
So then I was like, do you? And she's like, she kind of got shifty and she's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, do you want to like tell me about it? And she goes, I can't break my rule. And I was like, what's your rule? And she goes, I can't talk about it in the place where it happened. So there's a ghost in Maddie's. And then she's so intrigued and wants to tell me so badly that she starts like hinting at it. And so this is what I've gathered so far. Gina and I need to talk offline, aka outside of Maddie's. I understand. Like,
yeah, figure out when her shift ends, or just like tell her to get to work 30 minutes early, meet her there.
Right. I also followed her on Instagram, so I was like, let's just become friends. But she said, because she closes a lot, like sometimes by herself. So she's just like, I'm not going to ruffle any feathers. But Maddie's existed in that building since 1946. And you okay over there?
Yeah, I'm just playing with my wire. I always have to like do something, but now we're in person, so now I forget that
now
I'm
I
like.
see it.
Now you see it.
I see you're fidgeting.
I keep my hands steady.
You can fidget.
No, you just
Should I get you a fidget spinner?
You just hear on the side.
Okay, so she said that there was one night, so during the day when Maddie's is open, upstairs, which is like the restaurant, is never open until I think it's 4:45. It's a very specific time that it opens. And no one's up there until it opens. And I guess someone went up there and was just like, who else is upstairs? And the owner was like, no one's up there. And she's like, no, I swear I hear someone walking in the kitchen. So it starts there. And then it's a lot of footsteps. There's like a man in an apron. It's almost like a cook.
Oh, so they see someone.
People have seen someone, but it's mostly hearing. That is so far what I have learned.
That's so
and
interesting.
I'm very tempted to be like, can I do an overnight here?
That would be so fun.
Wouldn't that be so fun?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I feel like they would let us.
And I also feel like the ghost would be into it.
I think so too.
I do feel like we bring kind of good vibes to,
Great vibes.
to paranormal investigations.
Yeah. We're
and
good
I
energy.
feel like, yeah, a cook. We love
You're
food.
hungry.
I love food.
We're just talking about
Tell
it.
me about your favorite dish to make. What does it smell like?
Why don't you just cook it up for us?
Yeah, but give me a
meal.
I brought you a set of knives. Go at it.
They're extra sharp. Just don't throw them at us.
Woo. Be careful. Wait, that's actually so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you've befriended. Well, you guys have been to Maddie's a lot since you've been here.
I know, you were like, you should have a calendar for every day you go. And I'm like,
I wanted
it's just every day.
Yeah, to have the SpongeBob calendar where you do the big red marker where you mark off every single day you go to Maddie's.
It's every day.
Yeah.
Actually, we didn't go this weekend.
Where'd you go instead?
The couch.
Oh.
We had epic couch days.
Because it was very gloomy.
Yeah. And then
nice
I did
rain.
a lot of work yesterday, so we did not leave. But found good Chinese food. Still working on pizza.
Yeah.
That's my ghost story for today. If I have any others, I'll keep keeping you updated.
Wow. I don't have any ghost updates.
That's good.
I do have a fun fact about Massachusetts for you.
Oh.
But also I forget what town it's in. Where's my cell phone? Out in western Massachusetts, which I said we should go during foliage season because it's going to be super beautiful out in like the Berkshire area. That's where the dinosaur tracks are along the Connecticut River.
Love.
So Amherst, Massachusetts, one of the colleges is there. But they have, I just learned about this. It's called the Henry Street Salamander Tunnel. And there are salamanders that migrate every year from one side of Henry Street, the road, to the other. But it's super dangerous for them. So apparently since the 80s, locals have been volunteering with buckets to fill the buckets with salamanders and cart them across the street. But recently, they've also created a tunnel underneath the street and a bunch of barriers, multiple tunnels, to try to guide them into these tunnels to go underneath the street.
They should just close the street.
They should. Fuck the street. We don't need Henry Street.
We don't need it.
It's Salamander Street. But I thought that was so cute.
It is really cute.
How
did you find that?
I follow a lot of the random like local Massachusetts news TikToks, which are funny. I'll send them to you. They're not meant to be like, here's what's really new in news. It's more like, did you ever hear about that random local guy that people seem to know on this random ass town? Well, we went and interviewed him, and
I love that. Will you share them with me?
I will.
Recently, actually, was on TikTok this weekend, and for the first time in a long time,
you're sending them to me,
and I didn't realize you can repost. But I saw you reposted one that was about this guy who is from Colorado who moved to Massachusetts.
Yeah,
and like how everyone here claims to be assholes. But then like the second that you need something, they're there for you. They'll make fun of you. They'll tease you. They'll make fun of what you're wearing.
It's Massachusetts
but
way.
They'll help you.
100%. They care so much about your safety and well-being and happiness, but they will poke fun at you the entire time.
I love it here so much.
I'm so glad. I mean, we knew you were born on the East Coast.
I know. But this is, I think also, I feel like I've slowly transitioned into Marblehead, because I was in LA, which is a massive city. Mm-hmm. Then I moved into the Courtyard, which was this like little commune with the same energy that Marblehead has. Yeah. Just Marblehead is on a bigger
Your Courtyard
scale.
did not seem at all matching the Santa Monica vibe.
No, and I still, they're texting me. They're like, we're sad that you're leaving. And like, you have a place to stay anytime you come. So
that's so nice.
You're forever a part of the commune. Once you're a part of it,
you can't get out. I love the burbs, baby. We were city folk, now we're burbs folk.
Mass holes in the burbs.
Mass holes in the burbs.
We have ghost stories today, too.
We do.
Is it ghost? Well,
not really.
Not really.
We enjoyed the episode that we did with Ash and Elena on their feed on Morbid about nursery rhymes, which was inspired by our stay at the Lizzie Borden house. What?
Okay. Ash was in California this past week.
Yes.
We're recording this now in April. She was at Disneyland.
Yes.
She posted on her story, crazy thing. And I need to show you.
How did I miss this?
Her and I were texting about it because she posted it and it was like, everyone's saying that these are smoke rings, but there's no way that this is smoke rings.
Oh, the alien. Yeah.
And she
was
sent
like,
me these
for
videos.
Sure aliens, like
100%. Like, there's no way that's a smoke ring. And then,
is it glowing blue from Disney? Like, what's the blue thing?
I don't know what the blue thing is. Ash saw aliens at Disneyland.
That's so weird.
And if I were an alien, I would for sure go to Disneyland too.
Yeah.
Because one, that's a great place to observe humanity and how strange we all are.
Yeah.
And then,
which is what she had said on her story, basically, which was like, they just get to watch us in our weird little outfits, like going on rides, being like, hooty hoo!
Like taking pictures with caricatures. Like, what?
Yeah. We're just a bunch of adults playing pretend.
Literally. Yeah.
It's so fun. It's so magical. Fun. That is interesting. I am so curious what that is. And I wonder if anyone has actually, we should go to TikTok because honestly, sometimes on TikTok, they have real explanations where someone will be like, what the fuck is this in the sky? It's aliens. And then you'll go through the comments and people will be like, no, that was the SpaceX launch. It launched from this base on this date and this time, which is exactly when you said you were there.
I will let you take to TikTok because I promise you
it's my search engine.
Not know how to do TikTok searches.
Okay, I'll find it.
Okay. But anyway, Ash and Elena, we did nursery rhymes on our two-parter, the Morbid, Lizzie Borden, and Ghost Paranormal Investigation. I feel like I spoke like a broken robot.
I honestly didn't register any of the words you said, but
you did nod. You looked at me and nodded.
Well, because I know what we did, and where we were, and what we're doing now, so I don't need to hear.
But so we basically were like, there are so many creepy nursery rhymes that we didn't talk about on that collab. Why don't we do a little bit more of a deep dive and talk about them on our podcast? Okay, so I kind of went a non-traditional route. I didn't do the typical nursery rhymes that we all remember. So I started with, because I was like, take two. You take to TikTok, I take to Reddit.
And I feel like you choose a more dangerous path.
I do, absolutely. And I was thinking about when I went to camp and like Girl Scout camp and like just summer camp and stuff. And I feel like it's a very typical thing to come up with these like marches and chants that you all sing and say together.
Yeah.
And I was reminded of the
Down
scene.
by the banks of the bank
where the bullfrog jumps from bank to bank saying
hip hop.
See, it changes.
This is where it's different.
This is where
regional.
Regional. She said it first. But I also was reminded of the scene in Parent Trap when they're being marched to their bunks and all of them are chanting the camp song.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, there's this one popular camp/playground song that I had never heard of, but it is called, and I love alliteration, so you know that this got me, Great Green Gobs of Greasy, Grimy Gopher Guts.
That's impossible to say.
Great green globs of greasy, grimy gopher guts, mutilated monkey meat, dirty little birdie feet, French fried eyeballs rolling down a dirty street, and me without my spoon. I don't know if that's actually the tune it goes by, but that's what I'm going with.
Holy crap.
Great green globs of greasy, grimy gopher guts, scab, sandwich, pus on top, vulture vomit, camel snot, deep dish booger soaking in a bowl of fat, and me without a spoon. Great green gobs of greasy, grimy gopher guts, parrot eyeballs dipped in glue, petrified porpoise pus, flaming earwax bobbing in a bowl of barf.
Oh, God. I hate it, but I also want to teach it to my children.
And I was like, okay, wait a second. I need to know more. Because and then, you know, as with a lot of these nursery rhymes or like little chants that people come up with as kids, there are different iterations. People make it grosser and weirder. And there was one that it literally...
Wait, it gets grosser and weirder than these like bulbous, pussy animals?
Well, because it ends with me without a spoon. Basically, like all these things people want to eat. As little kids, they're like, I could eat it, but I don't have a spoon. And then there's one version, and I have this little like comic that we'll put in the video. It goes, but I still have a straw.
Ew! Ew! That's so gross.
And then it's like, the idea that they'll slurp up all of this stuff.
This is so nasty.
It's so nasty, but you also get it as a kid, you know, talking about gross stuff.
Yeah, to say like goo and guts. Like,
and
it's
like
fun to say.
Grimy Gopher Guts.
You want to gross everyone out.
Yeah, so it reminds me of kids being like, I'm going to eat this gross stuff. Like,
yeah,
ew. Like, I'm going to come up with the grosser version of it. But yeah, it talks about a bunch of different animal parts like camel snot, earwax, and poop. And it's meant to be gross. And I was reading about the origins.
I will say, I understand the earwax thing because my brother, when he was little, collected earwax. Literally collected all of our family's earwax.
I know.
Made it into a ball, put it in a Ziploc bag, kept it in his nightstand. Sorry, Christian. You were just outed. And now he's like the most anal retentive, hyper clean. Like he would never, ever think of doing that.
Yeah. You know, we all had like weird things that we did as kids. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
So I was reading about this and apparently I feel like a parent was just like, no, we're going to turn this into a learning lesson. This is how we teach our kids about not being gross and etiquette at the kitchen table. But I think kids just took it way further. And there's no like origin directly, but there's 19 versions recorded. It's in the public domain, meaning we can use it wherever we want.
I did not check if mine were.
I mean, I think it's fine. And then there was an infamous New York street gang called the Gopher Gang, based in the Irish neighborhood of Hell's Kitchen, who I guess this group sang nursery rhymes or like came up with like riddles and stuff a lot and kind of popularized greasy, grimy gopher guts.
Feels like they were the OG Sesame Street.
Yeah, except for they got into a lot of trouble and I didn't go into much of that because I was like, let's keep it fun.
What kind of trouble? Just give us like
murder and stuff.
Oh.
They're a gang.
I don't know. I thought like maybe a rhyming rap gang. Like not like a real gang.
Rap battle.
Like, hey gang, like, you know? My grandpa calls my cousins the gang. I wasn't really thinking about.
This is like old school,
gang,
like street gang. Yeah.
Bang, bang, gang, gang. Okay, got it.
Yes, but they're called the Gopher Gang, which is a fun name.
Wait, also,
yeah,
this makes me want to do it. But you know how like
gang, street bang gang.
No. We already have a gang. It's the
ghost gang.
It's the ghost gang.
Ghost gang.
It's much gentler and more understanding. No, but I'm thinking about how Pinterest moms and just like people who are really creative for their kids' parties will do all of the, like worms in the dirt cup, like all that stuff. Oh, it would be so fun if this were like a rhyme that kids actually sang to do a whole party where like you make all the
greasy, grimy gopher guts.
Yeah.
Birthday party.
Yes. Where all the food looks like something like that. That would actually be really fun.
Well, I remember my sister, it's so interesting looking back because my sister was way more the creepy kid than I was. Like she loved scary stuff. For one of her birthdays, we watched a horror movie and then my dad and mom, we all sat in the dark and they passed around that box with like a bunch of different things in it and like told the creepy stories. So it was like spaghetti, which was like brains, and then carrots were fingers.
Ooh, that's a great idea. I think it was like in second grade, I went to someone's Halloween party. And they had the best Halloween party ever. And they literally had a room where her dad was set up in like a mad scientist sort of coat. And they had like a fake body to operate on. And they had like, if I'm remembering correctly, I think they'd like stuffed it with like certain things. So when you'd operate, he'd like pull it out and we'd all be like, ah!
Wait, that's
awesome.
So fun.
Yeah.
Stealing that for my Halloween party. So that's basically the song. In there was different iterations of it. Some people preferred their eyeballs dipped in motor oil and then, just little alterations here and there. But I really went down a tangent and this has nothing to do with nursery rhymes, but I just want to I was like so intrigued and I think I became obsessed with this woman I don't know on the internet. So when I was looking into the song, you have no idea where I'm going to.
No.
Okay.
Can you tell by my face? Like trying to figure it out?
You never know what you're going to get with me. Unpredictable. So when I was searching the song, I was guided to Cora.
Quora.
Yeah. Is that how you say it?
Yes. I was thinking Cora the tampon brand for a second.
There's a tampon brand named Cora?
Yeah.
Oh. And I was doing my research on mutilated monkey guts and eyeballs dipped in kerosene and stuff. And there was a woman named Karen. And I'm not going to say her last name, but I became obsessed with her because on Cora, you can click on like the person who asked the question. So she asked about greasy, grimy gopher guts, and then it was yielding results. And I was like, Karen, thank you for answering or helping me find the answers to this. And then I ended up clicking on her profile, which shows you everything she's ever responded to, every question she's ever asked.
The internet is forever.
It's crazy, but I became obsessed. So I wanted to read a couple of things that Karen helped answer on Cora.
Whoa, okay.
Because who are you, Karen? She's a cat lady for sure. I know that. Someone asked, I just pooped out a horsehair worm. I'm freaking out. What do I need to do? Karen swooped in.
Karen knows.
Absolutely nothing. They can't hurt you. They can only infect invertebrates. Thanks, Karen. Someone else asked, this is great. What's the tiniest piece of fabric that can cover a man's privates? Karen answered, I'm fairly sure that would depend on the overall size of the organs you want to cover. They are not all the same.
I love her too.
One last thing Karen answered. Karen is out here trying to protect all of us. Someone asked, did you ever open your pants in front of the public? Karen, coming in, trying to keep all of us safe from this flesh-flashing freak. That would be illegal and really stupid. Truth, Karen. Truth. If you're out there, respect.
I feel like she's giving Renee Rapp and Audrey Plaza vibes with her responses. They're so good.
They're deadpan.
So unserious yet serious at the same time. It's so funny. Wow.
Yeah.
See the magical things you can find just from looking up nursery rhymes.
Who knew that grimy gopher guts would make me fall in love with a stranger on the internet?
Karen, we love you.
We love you.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Damn. How far down did you go with her?
Too far.
I want to read it. Send me her profile. Okay, I definitely went a little bit more traditional. So here we go round the mulberry bush.
Okay.
Which I don't really remember the tune. Is it like here we go down? Here we
go downtown.
Here we go downtown.
Round the mulberry bush. Oh, if you hate singing, sorry. This one's not for you.
If you hate bad singing. Okay, here we go round. I can't say it. Here we go round the mulberry bush. The mulberry bush. The mulberry bush. Here we go round the mulberry bush. So early in the morning. This is the way we wash our face, wash our face, wash our face. This is the way we wash our face on a cold and frosty morning. This is the way we comb our hair, comb our hair, comb our hair. This is the way we comb our hair on a cold and frosty morning. This is the way we brush our teeth, brush our teeth, brush our teeth. This is the way we brush our teeth on a cold and frosty morning. This is the way we put on our clothes, put on our clothes, put on our clothes. This is the way we put on our clothes on a cold and frosty morning. Here we go round the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush. Here we go round the mulberry bush on a cold and frosty morning. Okay. Seems sweet. Seems informative.
Right. Like, get ready for the day.
It's kind of a little bit that, but in a horrible setting.
Oh, okay.
So this is about teaching your kids how to get ready for the morning, get up, tackle the day appropriately, hygiene. And growing up, I remember we would all like hold hands and run in a circle and sing this.
Yeah.
It wasn't really like a hopscotch or one of those.
It was kind of like Ring Around the Rosie.
Yeah, it was like a Ring Around the Rosie. This is believed to have originated with female prisoners at His Majesty's Prison, Wakefield, in England, which housed not only women, but supposedly their children too. Oh. And so the prison was opened in 1595. It's still operating today, from what I could see.
Interesting.
And originally, the prisoners were kept in leg irons, which I don't really understand what that
I think
is.
that's like cuffs, like around your ankles.
Yeah, okay.
I think.
And they didn't have really much given to them. Like, it was a pretty disgusting and harsh environment. Men and women were housed together, and then the women had their children with them. Can you imagine how stressful that situation is for all of those moms?
Oh my gosh. And if their legs are chained, like there's no, jeez. I hate that.
I know. Also, prison guards here at the time were not paid. They instead made a living by selling the prisoners to work. And so they would just like...
So slaves.
Yeah, basically. And then they would pocket all the money. So that's how they would make money as prison guards.
Don't love that.
They would also charge the prisoners a release fee when their sentence was up. So you could either pay the guards, but if you didn't have that money, you just had to stay in prison.
And also, how would you have that money if you've been in prison?
I have no idea. That's exactly... It's, again...
meant to keep you there.
Meant to keep you there. 3 centuries later, in the mid-1800s, they updated their offerings in the prison. And the cells came equipped with a small table, a stool, a gas light, and a hammock. And prisoners were allowed to bathe every 2 weeks. But much more frequently, they were allowed to go outside. And outside, when they would go exercise, there was this mulberry tree in the field. And so it's theorized that the women would all gather together by the tree with their children, and they would go around the tree and dance around the tree, trying to like stretch their limbs, get their kids some exercise, teach their kids how to be like normal human beings in this horrible situation because they were just kids. And so they were like, this is a good way to like have our children have memories of dancing around a tree with their moms and their friends. And so that is basically the origin. And I did hear that the mulberry tree is no longer there in the prison anymore, but prisoners have said they still hear potentially. Oh, wait. Sorry, I lied. I wrote, so the question is, do the prisoners still hear this nursery
We can pretend.
rhyme?
I like to think that they do.
They still
hear.
This is how rumors get made. No, from what I know, I don't know if they do, but I have questions for the people in that prison.
We hope that they do.
Yeah. Well,
as a residual.
Yeah.
Not an
residual.
active haunting. Wow.
Kind of dark.
It is kind of dark, but it also gives me like witchcrafty energy.
Yeah.
With like women and their kids dancing in a circle around a bush. Like that does feel very
enchanting
and magical. And I have to think that there's some positive coming out of this.
I know. Well, I guess the positive is like in that horrible situation that they were all in, at least they did get to feel like kids and moms for a minute.
Sure. For a minute.
Yeah.
After centuries of it being open as a prison.
I know. It's really terrible.
Yeah. I don't think I really ever sang that one growing up.
Really?
Yeah.
It's so sweet and gentle. Like a lot of nursery rhymes are dark in the lyrics.
Yeah.
But this one isn't.
It isn't.
And yet
it's just the
origin is.
But I do think a lot of nursery rhymes and childhood songs were almost created for children to explore topics that adults didn't want them to talk about.
Yes.
In like a playful, childish way.
Yeah. I guess that's totally fair.
Some of them, not all of them, but
I do default back to some of our Christmas themed episodes though, where the parents are the ones coming up with these horrible stories to just cause and instill fear in their children.
Pesta.
Krampus, like what's the lesson learned there?
Behave or get eaten by.
But at what cost?
The cost of getting eaten by
like lifelong
trauma. Listen, trauma comes in all different shapes and forms.
Yeah, you cannot prevent it. You never know how someone's going to digest something, but you can hope to never inflict it on someone.
You can hope. So this next song, I also had never heard of until I started doing research, but I think you may have heard of it. But it was created to deal with death and respecting death, but also fearing death.
Okay.
It is called the Hearse Song. So if you are a creepy soul, kid, adult person, you might watch a hearse go by and you might wonder, what if that were me? And if you don't, now you will. So I'm just going to read it because I don't know the tune of it.
Okay.
Don't you ever laugh as a hearse goes by, for you may be the next to die. They wrap you in big white sheets and cover you from head to feet. They put you in a big black box and cover you with dirt and rocks. All goes well for about a week until your coffin begins to leak. The worms crawl in, the worms crawl out. The worms play pinnacle on your snout. They eat your eyes, they eat your nose, they eat the jelly between your toes.
Ew.
The worms crawl in and the worms crawl out. They crawl all over your chin and mouth. They invite their friends and their friends' friends too. And you'll look like hell when they're through with you.
I kind of like that. You know, I'm returning to Earth. Just kind of carve me up, baby, if I'm already gone.
Right. But I think they're trying to say, like, could be you.
Could be you. Don't poke fun.
So the very first mention of any of these types of words was all the way back in 1796 in a novel written by an English writer, Matthew Lewis. He was 19 at the time, and he wrote this gothic horror novel that actually kind of like paved the way. It's a story of Ambrosio torn between his spiritual vows and temptations of physical pleasure. His internal battle leads to sexual obsession, rape, and murder. And it's also a parody of its own excesses as well as a social comedy. But it's called The Monk. In this poem, he wrote the lines, "The worms crept in and the worms crept out and sported his eyes and temples about." And so people kind of ran with this line, and there are a lot of different evolutions where there would be characters who would basically, there was one story of this knight who went off to war and his fiance was like, "I'll never marry, even if you die, like I'm always gonna be dedicated to you." He dies in war, and this woman finds someone else and starts to get remarried. At the day of her wedding, the knight bursts in and worms are crawling through his like skeleton, basically like alive because the worms are like running his body, which kind of also reminds me of Goosebumps a bit.
And Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah. So it's this idea of like the worms are now like inhabiting your corpse.
Wow.
And taking over your body.
Yeah.
But the Hearse Song itself dates all the way back to, I think the first record of it date back to the Crimean War. And then there are so many versions and iterations of it documented in World War I songbooks.
Whoa.
So I think it was a lot of soldiers who lost friends and they would see their bodies being carried away. And it was this way to be like, that could have been me.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it might be me tomorrow.
Yeah.
A way to kind of deal with
death. It's really sad.
And then it grew popularity again when it was in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
How do I not remember this?
So we have here, this is the picture of it from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
The Hearse Song. Oh.
And it's basically the exact same way, but I'll read the end of this because it's a little bit different. "They eat the jelly between your toes. A big green worm with rolling eyes crawls in your stomach and out your eyes. Your stomach turns slimy green and pus pours out like whipping cream. You spread it on a slice of bread, and that's what you eat when you are dead."
Ew. There's so much like cream and goo in yours.
Oh yeah, I'm a creamy girl. Still hungry? You were very hungry at the beginning of this.
No, I'm not. The next one is Peter, Pumpkin Eater. Peter, Pumpkin Eater, had a wife but couldn't keep her. He put her in a pumpkin shell, and there he kept her very well. Peter, Pumpkin Eater, had another, didn't love her. Peter learned to read and spell, and then he loved her very well.
Oh.
What I realized when I was researching this was I don't think those are the words that I ever learned.
I don't think those are the words I ever learned either.
But that's also the original.
Did Peter kill his first wife and then couldn't love his second wife until he read and could read and write?
It does sound like that.
Is that what it's saying?
No, but it's kind of.
Okay.
Sort of.
What is it?
Okay, so there's a few different like iterations of what this could be. So the rhyme originally was published in 1797 in a book about infant poetry and lyrics. And then also it appeared again in the Mother Goose's Quattro, which was printed in Boston, Massachusetts in 1825. Hey. And so it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's believed to have originally been created in the early 18th century when the rhymes were passed down through song rather than being published. So it's thought that it's a lot older than when it originally appeared in print. In a Scottish version published a few decades later, the words did change a bit. So it said, Peter might... I'm going to be so bad at this.
What?
Maybe I should have you read it in your Scottish accent. Scottish.
All you have to do is, who is the traitor?
The traitor.
And then you get in. Yeah.
Peter.
There you go.
My neighbor had a wife and he could not keep her. He pat her i the wa and latter the mice eat her.
He let the mice eat her?
Yeah.
Peter.
Basically, I wrote, I understood none of that aside from letting the mice eat her.
Okay, it was my neighbor had a wife. He could not keep her, and he let the mice eat her.
Is that neighbor?
Peter, my neighbor, had a wife, and he could not keep her. He put her in the water and let the mice eat her.
What kind of wizard are you? It's literally...
The way that it's Nipa.
Put her in the water is he pat her I the wa.
Okay, there's a game. Oh, wait, I brought it to the Lizzie Borden house when we were there with Ash and Elena.
Was that when I was half asleep?
You were kind of half asleep, but it's incoherent. I think that's what it's called. And it basically looks like that. And we did the not safe for work version, but it is weirdly put together words. And like when someone says it, the other people can hear it better. And they have to try to say what it's actually saying.
Oh, that's so confusing. My brain like cannot comprehend.
I did pretty good.
You did.
I'm really bad at the game though.
So the way I remember the nursery rhyme was, I don't even remember what the original words were, but I remember in all of the books that it was depicted as like this lovely little wife and her bonnet, like living in this giant pumpkin. It was almost like James and the Giant
Woman
Peach.
in the Shoe type of thing.
Yeah. That's how I remember it.
I remember Peter Pumpkin Eater. Well, now I'm almost thinking like liar, liar, pants on fire.
Right. Did we ever learn the rest? Was it just Peter Pumpkin Eater?
I don't know.
As like a taunting phrase to say to others?
Maybe that is how we used it.
And we just never knew the rest.
We never knew the rest.
But I definitely had one of those nursery rhyme books where I looked in it and there was an illustration of a giant pumpkin and his wife in it and him.
Well, he did put his one wife in a pumpkin.
He did. It was drawn much more nicely than it is said to be about, if that made any sense.
No, I did agree. Yeah, I did.
We can talk in riddles in this episode. What's English?
This would have been a good one to do an opening in
Pig Latin. Oh, God. I feel like we have to do the Pig Latin in a few months when my brain actually works again.
Also, we have to practice so much.
We do. We should start doing that.
To start practicing?
We should do like coffee dates where we only speak in Pig Latin.
I love it.
We'll go to Mookie's on Main in Marblehead and they'll think that you're...
Mookie's on Mugford.
Look at me. I screwed up and you know more than me.
It is my town.
It is your town. There you go. Okay, so with this nursery rhyme, again, we don't know truly what it's about because similar to when we covered Georgie Porgy and some of the other rhymes on Morbid's feed, a lot of it is based on gossip and hearsay. Mm-hmm. And so there's no written document that's like, this is exactly why this nursery rhyme exists.
It's kind of like Bridgerton.
Oh.
Like this is the way that they gossiped.
That's so true. With Lady Featherington. Yeah. Or whatever her name is.
I've only seen season 1.
So one theory is that this rhyme is not at all child appropriate. It's actually talking about a chastity belt. So Peter had a wife and couldn't keep her, basically saying like she was very unfaithful to him. And so Peter took to locking her in a pumpkin, aka locking her in a chastity belt.
Huh.
The chastity belt at the time, it's iron underwear. The nickname for it was a pumpkin shell. So that's why that would make sense. And this was basically to keep her from having any extramarital affairs. Right. So he kept the key and he convinced himself that he was a really good husband for doing this, even though obviously, like, I'm sure part of him was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm treating my wife well. I'm rebuilding our marriage. And really, he was holding her prisoner. So that's what this is about. But there's another version that gets even a little bit more dark, which perhaps the Scottish version alludes to, and that is a murder. Some people say that Peter killed his wife after discovering that she was working as a sex worker and having extramarital affairs with multiple men, and he was just so enraged that he murdered her. And then he hid her body in a pumpkin and then let the mice eat the pumpkin and then her. Pumpkin. It's either a massive pumpkin or maybe he like dispersed it
into multiple pumpkins. Or he like planted her in the pumpkin patch.
Oh, maybe. But basically like the letting the mice eat her, I guess like it could be an interesting and creative way to try to dispose of a body, to knowing that the mice would eat the pumpkin to put some of human remains there too, because then they might just continue on and eat the person.
Yeah.
And
well, he clearly didn't get away with it if everyone knows it and has come up with this program about it.
Yeah. The second verse is Peter, pumpkin eater, had another, didn't love her. Peter learned to read and spell, and then he loved her very well. So apparently people believe that this refers to the murder of someone else's wife. Or perhaps Peter's
second wife.
I
read it as second wife.
Yeah, it does feel like that. People also wonder if this is in reference to his first wife, that maybe he did murder. He remembered her fondly, and then he chose to live out his days in this like happy illusion that she's still alive or that everything was great and that nothing is wrong.
This is turning into like a creepy movie.
Yeah, it is.
He like believes that she's still alive and lives this life.
Right. It's very like Inception. It's very kind of Lars and the Real Girl.
Shutter Island.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
But not Inception. Shutter Island. It is bizarre. So there's a bunch of different theories. People don't know what it's about. But basically, no matter what, we have deduced from this that Peter is mentally suffering and he made really not good and illegal decisions that likely resulted in either the imprisonment or the death of his love.
I feel like we used to use pumpkin eater as a diss.
Yeah, it was.
But like when I think of pumpkin eater now, I'm thinking of like someone who eats vaginas. which you should.
I was thinking pumpkin spice latte, pumpkin pie, a spicy autumn fall. That is so opposite. I'm still thinking about food.
You're still thinking about food, and I'm still wondering how sex is when you're pregnant.
Two different ways. It's like this. It's all you're thinking about food, so you're not really conscious in the other
I think
parts.
we have just exemplified human needs, and we are such animals. People think about survival and sex and food. You're welcome.
Oh my God.
Is that it that you have for nursery rhymes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a listener story.
Ooh, okay. I say ooh like I'm surprised. I also have one.
Ooh.
I forgot.
Okay. I have a listener story from our listener, Lola. And Lola had one of those experiences where she was like, I swear I sent this 3 times. And I looked back and I didn't send. And then finally it did send.
That's so weird.
Hello, ladies. I swear I've tried to send this email 3 times. And every time I get a weird feeling that it wasn't sent. And when I go to look, it's not in my sent or my drafts.
It's like, why?
I have a
Who doesn't want this to be heard?
suspicion it has to do with the demon from my first story being embarrassed that he totally failed to possess me or whatever he wanted. Loser.
Loser. Beater, pumpkin eater.
My name is Lola. I go by she, her, and I am 20 while I send this email in. I love this podcast, and I listen while falling asleep, and it helps my brain not run 80 miles per hour. I appreciate what you do and really hope my stories freak you out. My first story takes place in middle school. My friend Zoe and I decided one day to make a Ouija board. Stupid, I know.
Oh.
It was super janky. We literally looked up a picture online and drew it on a page in my math notebook. Our planchette was made of thin cardboard like the cover of a composition notebook, and we would play occasionally in bathrooms at lunch or outside of the Boys and Girls Club.
Can you imagine being a teacher and confiscating something like this and just being like, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
I'm terrified to work here, to be around these kids.
Yeah. We played for a while without anything substantial or freaky happening, and we started to get bored and then more careless with the rules. One day, we met a ghost named George. George was a young boy, maybe around 8 years old. We didn't get much from him, but I could feel the change in energy when we started to interact with him in the board. It became fun again, and small crowds started to form when we would play. Then came spring break. So this was in my notebook, which I had to take home. I hid it in my bookshelf, and all of a sudden, weird shit started to happen. I would wake up with my desk chair knocked over, books from my bookshelf on the floor, and my computer would randomly turn on. Worst of all, I started having sleep paralysis nightmares where I would be trapped in complete darkness, hearing a little boy chant the nursery rhyme, Georgie, porgy, pudding and pie, kissed the girls and made them cry. When all the boys came out to play, Georgie, porgy ran away.
That's creepy.
Terrifying.
What the fuck?
Near the end of break, I would often wake up with long, shallow cuts on the palms of my hands and my fingers. I tried to talk to people about it, and my therapist said I was sleep cutting, as if that made perfect sense, but I had no history of sleepwalking. I was not allowed to have sharps in my room, and I slept on the top bunk of my bed with a very steep ladder down. So no way was I doing this to myself.
That's bizarre.
I didn't even have long enough nails to scratch myself. Anyway, when I got back to school, I told Zoe. To her, I think it seemed like I was just feeding into the fun of the game by making up some more lore. And she would say, oh my God, spooky stuff happened to me too. It felt very jokey from her end. Then we played with the board again, and George didn't show up. The energy felt different, and for the first time playing, I actually was scared. We got a Z, then an O, and it went back and forth slowly in the shape of an infinity sign.
Oh, no.
I thought Zoe was messing with me because the nickname for her was Zoe. We closed out. We played a few more times, the same results. The crowd of interested people shrank until it was just us and 3 guys that she was friends with. Here's the really fucked up part, so prepare yourself. Zoe and I started to play, expecting the Z-O again, but the planchette didn't move. Eventually, we asked if someone was there. Yes. We asked if it was Georgie. It seemed to hesitate for a second, then spelled out the following message. I love to hold your hand.
Why does that feel so ominous coming from a Ouija board?
Especially the scratches and stuff on her hand.
Yes. Oh.
Which makes me think this creature has like sharp claws and is like holding her hand but leaving marks.
Oh God, I hate that. Also, that's such a long sentence too. I can just imagine like the heart pounding as they're writing down every single letter, trying to
get the message.
What is being said.
My heart was pounding. Everyone was looking around after the message was read out, like, what the fuck does that mean? And before I could say anything, the planchette jerked to the Z, then the O, then the Z, back and forth, quickly gaining speed. It was so fast that we could hardly keep our fingers on it. I yelled that we needed to move the planchette to goodbye, and we tried to force it there, but it wasn't budging from its pattern.
No.
Then, I kid you not, it flew out from under our fingers and landed about 4 feet away. We all stood up.
This is so scary because this is one of those things where it's like, we say don't play with Ouija boards. Other people say, and I guess we have kind of come to the conclusion where like, if you know how to play properly and you have all the precautions in place.
And set your intentions.
All these different rules to prep, then fine, play the Ouija board. But this is an example of where they're trying to do what they're supposed to do and they can't.
Because they got too deep in the rabbit hole. We all stood up and I blacked out. I came to on the concrete with the taste of vomit in my mouth. A few days later, Zoe and I buried the board and soaked the earth in holy water, which was a bitch to get, by the way. We did a bunch of research and learned about the demon, I'm not going to say his name, the Z demon, and his creepy pattern of targeting young girls. After the board was gone, we never talked about it again. My next story has some very sad but also wholesome moments, so trigger warning, it does involve alcoholism and animal cruelty. Big deep breath, and let's go. My family had 2 dogs while I was growing up, Pirate and Freckles.
Oh, that was so cute.
Freckles is the focus of this story. She was an adorable Clumber Spaniel that we got as a puppy. She was smelly and clumsy and just the sweetest, most loving girl ever. But let's start in 2018. I was in high school and my brother was maybe in 4th or 5th grade. My dad was an alcoholic with bad anger management and a messy, unhappy marriage that just made everything worse. Freckles was actually my dad's dog originally. We got her because Pirate only really loved my mom. He liked all of us, but he loved my mom. And my dad wanted a dog to do that for him. Over time, she became my little brother's dog. They were best friends. They did everything together. Something my dad never liked was having the dogs on the furniture, so it was a rule in our house. No dogs on the couches, beds, or anything. My mom would let my brother break that rule by pulling out his trundle bed and letting them snuggle on it together until my dad got home. One day, Dad got drunk. He was already fuming about work and stomping through the house when he went in and saw my brother and Freckles on the trundle and got really mad. I'm going to skip over some of the details of this, but He abused Freckles. I was watching from the hallway and my mom came running. We sent my brother to my grandma's house and my mom and I took Freckles to the emergency vet. We sadly had to put her down.
Oh my God.
My mom made me swear as we sat in the waiting room that I would not tell anyone. She kicked my dad out for a while and the name Freckles became taboo. Pictures of her were tucked away. She was cremated and put into a little box hidden amongst books.
Poor baby.
Nobody spoke about what happened. I'm sorry for that heavy bit, but context is necessary for the story. Flash forward to the week of my 18th birthday in 2020. This week started on an interesting note with sleep paralysis.
Great.
Actually, it was sleep paralysis within a dream. So at this point, we had gotten a new dog, a German Shepherd named Xena, the warrior princess. And in this dream, I was camping with my dad, but there was a bad storm and we had to go find a sort of bunker to sleep in. We set up our sleeping bags and started to fall asleep again in the dream, when suddenly some lightning lit up the room and a clap of thunder sent adrenaline through me. I couldn't move. I felt frantic as I was looking around in the darkness, and I saw the silhouette of an animal at the entrance of the bunker. It was lit up by lightning and then complete darkness again. As quickly as if I had blinked, Xena was standing over me, with her nose touching the top of mine. There was a soft glow coming off of her fur, and I heard a womanly voice whisper from all around me, "I found Freckles." And then I awoke. I shot up in bed and cried with an intense fear and a feeling of comfort. And I saw Xena laying at the foot of my bed, watching me. Some days later, on my actual birthday, my mom planned a surprise for me, a psychic. This woman was amazing. She read tarot cards and palms. She spoke to ancestors and deceased relatives and friends. And most significant to the story was the private reading she did for my brother and I. She was talking about our struggles and our auras and whatnot. And then she paused and seemed distracted and said, "I'm so sorry to pause this reading, but there's a dog sitting on my foot that really wants to talk to you both."
Stop.
We just looked at each other and then back at her. She described Freckles perfectly. White dog with floppy ears and brown spots all over her face. Female, maybe 7 or 8 years old. We both whispered, "Freckles." She smiled and nodded. Yep, she liked hearing that name.
Oh.
Then
we need to know the name of the psychic. I want to go see the psychic.
Seriously. She then relayed the message that Freckles had for us. She wanted us to know that it was her time to go and that we should not feel any guilt or grievance over her anymore. She had been offered a chance to walk back and forth over the Rainbow Bridge and was very happy. She was at peace and felt no pain and wanted us to know that she is visiting us all the time and checking in on how we're doing. She said that she loves us very much and wanted us to know she'll always be there. Needless to say, we cried a lot. Thanks so much for doing what you do. I really hope I get the chance to hear you read my stories on this amazing platform. And she attached some photos of their dogs. Happy hauntings, my lovelies. Lola. She, her.
Oh, well, I'm so glad that Freckles has found peace and
Me too.
was able to come and be like, don't worry about me. I have a lot of love for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a better place, but I'm devastated about how
I
Freckles passed.
So sad.
It's horrific.
And then also, Georgie 100% is the demon, the Ouija board demon.
Also, Lola was like, maybe this demon is embarrassed because he wasn't able to fully possess me. I think he did possess you at one time. Like, you passed out and woke up with vomit, the taste of vomit in your mouth.
That's true.
I think maybe you were for a moment.
For maybe a moment. Or at least, like, very psychically attacked.
Yeah. Where your body's just trying to shut down. And
I also love that Xena, their current dog, helped find Freckles. Like, she was so excited to tell Lola, too, I found Freckles.
Which is so interesting, too, because I never thought about living animals being in the astral realm.
But why not?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why not?
We don't know. There's no rules here.
There are no rules.
We know nothing. Wow. Anything is possible.
Now you got to find Leia in the astral realm. Leia. Oh my gosh.
I know.
Well, that's terrifying. The whole like rhyming, the Georgie Porgy, and then the I love to hold your hand.
I know. It does feel like this demon had a crush on Lola.
I feel like this demon is trying to write their own horror movie. Like, it feels scripted in a way.
It does.
They're like, what can I add next?
It's kind of like when in reality TV shows you see people say certain lines and you're like, come on. You wrote that, or someone wrote that, or you wrote this, and we're so proud of it. And the way you delivered it makes it clear that you wrote this.
Yeah, totally. It feels like the demon is trying to do that.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to stage a play a little bit.
Right. Nice try.
Nice try. Lola's too strong for you. Okay, I have one that's called Scary Sleep Paralysis Story. Okay. So I guess we're a little bit in tune here. Hello, ghostesses. My name isn't Corinne, but it is Nicole. My middle name.
Okay, fun.
We're basically the same.
Wait, I was watching Unsolved Mysteries yesterday, and there was an episode where it was like a baby named Sabrina Page, which is my name, went missing and has never been found. And I was like,
if you didn't look exactly like your parents, I'd be like, oh, we need to look into this.
Was I stolen? No, it wasn't me.
No, it wasn't. But oh my gosh, that's kind of creepy.
I've literally seen the video where I was birthed out of my mother's canal. So, yeah.
Yikes.
I didn't watch the
disembarking,
but I saw from a different angle.
Sorry, this is like kind of tangentially related, but you just triggered a memory of mine. That when I'd first moved out to California, you know how I wanted to be an actor?
Yeah, same.
We both did. That's how we met. But I had received a casting notice that they wanted me to play in one of those like reenactment shows, the victim, because I looked exactly like someone who had been murdered. I was like, this is like a weird, I wasn't able to make the dates work. So I had to decline
that is weird.
But I was like, this is so complicated because it's like exciting to potentially
have a job.
But then it's also like, but you look like someone who was murdered and you're going to pretend to be her when she was alive. And I'm like, well, that also feels icky.
It is scary. It's one thing to play a victim in a fictional thing.
Yeah.
But to do it based on a real story is very...
Right. And it's not like any words. It was like the background thing, but it was still like the reenactment, you know, like...
That is still like...
be like walking to...
It feels almost like an out-of-body experience.
It does. Yeah, it made me feel really bad. Okay. Hello, ladies, and greetings from El Paso, Texas. I stumbled across your podcast not too long ago, and I've really enjoyed your stories and the stories that others feel comfortable enough to share. I've always enjoyed listening to the ghost stories and other types of stories, and although I have some of my own, I've never really considered writing in to share mine until Corinne read the story from a listener with her same name that had a sleep paralysis story. I was listening to that episode while I was at work, and I literally stopped dead when I realized the similarities between her story regarding arms wrapping around her during sleep paralysis, and I just knew I needed to write in. Here goes. First, let me back up. The first time that I had sleep paralysis, it was about 12 years ago when I was 16, and I was taking a nap at home on the couch. I woke up, or at least I thought I did, and when I went to move, I felt as though I was being pinned to the couch.
Oh no.
I tried to speak. I tried to yell, scream. Nothing. I remember hearing myself breathing, and I could hear myself humming, trying to speak, but I couldn't do much else. I could see my mom in the living room and everything else around me, but I was frozen. I could hear my cell phone ringing with a ringtone that was a special one for one of my friends, but I couldn't move an inch. I started to try to blink myself out of whatever was happening to me, like some of us do in dreams to wake up, but that didn't work. Then, one of the times that I blinked and I opened my eyes, I saw a hooded figures.
Multiple?
Yes, standing around the living room. If I wasn't freaked out before, I was freaked the fuck out now.
Seriously.
They didn't move or anything, and I couldn't see their faces, but there were about 5 of them just standing, scattered all around the living room. I would blink, and I would blink, and none of them would move. They just stood there, staring at me. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I got out of it, and I was pushing so hard through the sleep paralysis that when I was able to move, I literally jumped off of the couch. I was crying hysterically, and I picked up my cell phone, and I called my mom to tell her what happened and to please come home. Oh, sorry, I misread something earlier when I said that they could see their mom in the living room. It said I could see my mom's living room.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, wait, I thought the mom wasn't there. That was me. Sorry. It was poor reading. I called my mom to tell her what happened and to please come home. After I hung up with her, I looked through my phone to see that I did have 2 missed calls from my friend, but the odd thing was that the phone was on silent, so there was no way I could have heard the ringtone. So that's some scary shit. Here's where my other story to Corinne's comes in. I'm not sure if this is you, Corinne, or the listener,
or
Corinne.
other Corinne?
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Fast forward about 3 or 4 years, and I was in college. I did have sleep paralysis sometimes between then, but none of them were as scary as that first experience until this time. I was napping in my bedroom on my stomach. Yeah. And interesting that they're on their stomach because usually it's on the back.
I thought I was safe.
And while I fell asleep, I could feel the warmth of the sun on my back and on my body. I heard someone come into my room and I felt the weight of what I thought was maybe my roommate's legs on my bed as if she was straddling my back. My college roommate,
which is a weird thing to do.
Yeah, that's a very strange thing to do. My college roommate and I were sorority sisters, and we were super close, so I thought maybe she was just trying to mess with me and trying to wake me up to go to a party or something. I distinctly remember feeling the weight shift on both sides of my body, as if she was being careful to not wake me up while straddling me. I tried to push myself up from the bed and push her off and scare her when I realized I couldn't move.
Oh, no.
I was having sleep paralysis. At this moment, I felt the weight push onto my back, and then my back got ice cold. I could feel the warmth of the sun on the back of my legs, but my back was now ice cold. Then I felt whatever it was on my back lean closer into my ear.
No.
And I can't remember to this day exactly what she said, but it was a little girl's voice, and she was singing a nursery rhyme in my ear. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but it was something that I'd heard before. The best I can describe it is like Ring Around the Rosie. Ring around the rosy, pocket full of posy, ashes, ashes, we all fall down.
You're welcome.
And as she was singing this nursery rhyme, I remember saying it along with her in my head. It wasn't a creepy voice or anything, just a little girl's voice talking in my ear. And then suddenly she was gone. And I pushed myself out of bed. I did it slowly and I looked around the room. Nothing was there. So then I sprinted out of my dorm room and I ran back downstairs to the front desk where my roommate was working and I told her what happened. I came back up later and said very loudly, "Hello, whoever's in here, don't know who you are, but that kind of scared me and I would appreciate if you didn't do it again." As scary as it was when it happened, I didn't feel like the presence was malicious. But nothing ever really happened again after that. The scariest part is the thing about her saying something that I can't remember, but I do recall knowing exactly what she was going to say as she was saying it. I always wish I could remember exactly what she said, but I just can't. I think I'll hear it someday in a commercial or a movie and I'll be like, that's it. And so when I do, I will let you know. And this is from Nicole.
I'm so curious if it's like something that she did as a kid. And it was almost like her child self coming through, or if it's if she wants to be a parent or like a kid in her life in the future, that she'll have this moment of like, oh my gosh, we've experienced this before.
Yeah.
I am glad that she didn't get creepy vibes from it, but I'm sorry. Anytime you're having sleep paralysis and a little child's voice starts singing a nursery rhyme into your ear.
Or anyone straddles you.
True.
This is
Because
interesting.
that's like heavy weight. Like, you know, it doesn't sound like the weight of a child.
Yeah, that's true. Unless it's just so bizarre that it's like
You can't move.
when you're paralyzed, the weight does feel a lot more heavy, or if the spirit's going like dead weight. But it almost you're making me wonder if like it was her childhood self haunting her future self. But it was such a weird like childhood dream that maybe she would never remember it. Just like some weird bizarre dream where she was like in some weird room and got on someone's back and started singing a nursery rhyme. Like you wouldn't.
Yeah, if she as a child astral projected and didn't realize what she was doing and just felt like a dream.
Thought it was like a weird dream.
Again, this proves that we know nothing about the paranormal world and how it works. And I'm glad nothing happened after that and that it wasn't terrifying.
It's also creepy that both of our emails that we pulled are people in sleep paralysis hearing
nursery rhymes. Have you heard a nursery rhyme while under sleep paralysis? Let us know.
What the hell's going on?
Also, if you have any creepy nursery rhymes that you remember from your childhood, let us know. Because I feel like there are some. Because when I was on Reddit, I even saw kids made some up to freak out their younger siblings, or like uncles and aunts and parents would make them up to freak them out. So if you have your own, let us know. Yeah. Email us at twogirlsoneghostpodcast@gmail.com. Please also send us all of your ghost stories. I know Nicole, it took another story similar to Nicole's experience to email us.
Mm-hmm.
If you have never...
Lola tried 3 times before it got through.
Just
persevere.
Send whatever it is you've experienced. We want to read them. twogirlsoneghostpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes. You can also rate and review, tell other people about us. Both of those things are really huge for the growth of the podcast. And with the growth of the podcast comes a bigger community for all of us here to tell ghost stories and support each other and share our different learnings and witchiness with one another. And you can also check out our Patreon. We have one tier. It's the Most Haunted Friend tier. You get all episodes ad-free 1 week early. You get bonus episode every single month. You have campfire stories every Tuesday night where we share stories live on stage. We bring people up.
You can come share your story live.
We have a Discord.
What else? Social media.
All the things.
Thank you so much for listening. And also thank you to our editor and producer, Jamie Ryan, who edits and produces all of our episodes, both audio and video. We're so grateful for you. And we love all of you who come back each week.
And we will see you on the other side.
Did you see my eyes go like, I was like, where do I look?
I feel like I almost started whispering it with you too.
Bye.